What feature made the biggest difference in the earliest days of me building the Unicorn Factory? In today's video, I'm going to be answering that question, so without further ado, let's get into it. Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Connor, and on this channel I help people who cannot code build online businesses with no-code tools like Webflow, Airtable, and Zapier. So the other day I did a little Q&A in the Everything Marketplaces online community, which is a community that's all about building online marketplaces like the Unicorn Factory, and I answered some questions about building online marketplaces with no-code tools, my experiences with building the Unicorn Factory, and I decided that I wanted to start this new segment where I take questions that people ask me either on my website, in the YouTube comments, or in forums like the Everything Marketplaces community and answer them here on this channel. Now, the main reason why I wanted to start this series is because mostly a lot of the questions that I get about the Unicorn Factory, about no code or building marketplaces are quite similar to each other. So I figured it makes a lot of sense to just take these questions that I've been getting and create a resource that everyone has access to. So if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer in one of these videos, then either leave a comment on one of these videos or leave a quick message on my website. I'll leave a link to my website in the description down below. So for this first video, I am going to be answering a question that comes up quite a lot, and I got it from Mike, who runs Everything Marketplaces. And the question is, in the earliest days of Unicorn Factory, what would you say was the biggest product improvement you made that improved your marketplace KPIs? Okay, so before I dive into the answer, can you do me a quick little favor? If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Also, I would very much appreciate if you could leave a quick like on this video if you are interested in more of these Q&A type videos. Other than that, let's dive into the answer. So I'll probably say that there was one small minor product improvement that I made that probably led to the biggest overall improvement or the biggest acceleration in the business cycle of getting more freelancers and getting more clients. But before I tell you what exactly it is, I want to take things back and basically tell you what my goals were in the very early days of the Unicorn Factory. So when I started the Unicorn Factory, my big goal wasn't necessarily to build this massive freelancer marketplace. It kind of definitely evolved over time into that, but right when I started it, my main goal was to get freelance work for myself. Now, one big issue that I found as a freelancer in that market is that it's very hard for businesses to discover freelancers through Google. So like you'd have to go and set up your own portfolio website, and then you'd have to compete with a whole bunch of other people in the same market, same niche, and it's just very difficult to stand out. So at the time I was working in a co-working space, and we had this really nice wall with all of the different residents that we had working in that co-working space at the time, and I kind of figured that if I created a digital version of that, that would make it easier for people inside of the co-working space, but also outside of the co-working space, to see who's available for work. The main intention that I had behind that is that if I built this digital directory and I was in charge of it, I could pretty much put myself at the top of the directory at any time, and that would also increase my chances of me getting more work. Another reason was I was friends with a guy who still runs a very successful software development agency, and at the time I was helping him find leads, close sales, and he would just pay me a commission for any work that I bought him. So I figured that by building a directory, I would also create a new way for me to find leads for him, which would then lead to me making more money. So to be completely honest with you, the first version of the Unicorn Factory was completely the most simple thing that you can think about. It was simply a Webflow site with a contact form. So I just created landing pages for my mate who ran this software development agency, myself, and then some friends who were not even really freelancing at the time, but I figured I may as well add more than just 2 people to this directory so I can start sharing it with people as soon as possible. So as soon as I had that first version ready, which was just my Webflow landing pages with a contact form, I started promoting it on Twitter, I started posting about it in different Facebook groups, and I started getting work through the site. And not just did I get work through the site, some of my friends who were not even freelancing were starting to get work through the site. And it was at that moment that I realized that I might be onto something that I could potentially take a bit further. And so that kind of brings me to the first feature that I built that made a huge difference to the Unicorn Factory, and that was just simply the MVP that I launched. And the most important thing that I want you to take away from it is that one specific product improvement will never help you make that jump unless you have something that is to improve. And the only way that you can really figure out what should be improved is if you get people to tell you what needs to be improved. So the first version of the Unicorn Factory didn't have anything with Zapier, it didn't even have anything with Airtable. It was simply a Webflow site with a few different profile pages inside of the CMS and a contact form. And that is pretty much what got the entire ball rolling for me and has gotten me to the stage where I am now. So as soon as the word was out there, I started getting more clients, getting in touch with my freelancer friends who were not even freelancing. I also started getting work for my mate who was running a software development agency, which was fantastic because at the time that was just a few grand that I'd get in commission on the spot. And I started getting work for myself. So I actually landed a client through the website that paid me $2,500 per month at the time. And I had that client for pretty much an entire year straight. So that in itself was absolutely worth it. But another huge side effect of launching the Unicorn Factory in the state that it was in was that suddenly a whole bunch of other freelancers started discovering the site, and they then got in touch with me and asked me if they could also have a profile on the site. Now at the time, I didn't even really plan on having a lot of additional freelancers join. Like that part hadn't even crossed my mind at the time. So a lot of the work that I had to do when people got in touch with me was to just ask them if they could send me everything about themselves in an email. So that means attach a profile picture, send me a bio, and tell me what services they want me to add to their profile. Now, obviously, I ended up building the freelancer onboarding workflow, which I have a video about on this channel, and that really allowed me to bring on more freelancers, which at the time allowed us to go from having 8 freelancers to having 20, 30, 40 freelancers. And as soon as we reached that point, I really started to see a big difference in the SEO that we were getting. And we also started to see a huge increase in the amount of clients that would reach out to freelancers on our site. So as soon as you get to the stage where you have about 40 to 50 freelancers and you also have a lot of clients reaching out to freelancers on a day-to-day basis, you start to discover holes that you have in your overall workflows. And because at the time I was doing everything manually, I discovered that there were a lot. So it really started becoming a problem having to manage this entire website for free as well at the time. And it was starting to get in the way of me actually doing client work, which is why I then actively started looking for solutions that I could get some of that time back. So it was at that time where I started discovering tools like Zapier and Airtable, and it allowed me to set up workflows of things that I was otherwise doing manually and to then basically automate them. And that was really the foundations for all of the different features and product improvements that I've launched on the Unicorn Factory since. I never went out and built anything for the sake of it just being built. I always built something if it would, 1, save me more time, or 2, make me more money, and then also improve the overall experience for clients and freelancers. So as soon as you get to the point where you have automated all of these workflows, it gets a lot easier for you to actually bring on a whole bunch of new freelancers, which makes the overall platform a lot more valuable to your clients, which then in turn leads to them reaching out to more freelancers, which then creates more value to the marketplace overall. And so that just really created a steady stream of more freelancers and more clients, and that really helped me move on for a long period. The next big thing that happened for the Unicorn Factory was when MemberStack launched. Now, at the time, I tried a whole bunch of different things with monetizing the site. I tried sending people Stripe checkout links. I had a cheap monthly fee or a $99 annual fee. But the effort involved with sending out links and like following up and stuff like that was just not worth it, especially considering the amount of work that I was getting for myself that was paying me between $2,000 to $3,000 a month, and also the commission payments that I was getting for my friend who was running the software development agency just made the overall hassle of doing payments manually not worth it. Obviously, with MemberStack launching, that whole thing changed because I could actually just embed that membership fee into the overall onboarding workflow. And so from that point onwards, I was able to charge freelancers to be listed on the site, and that started to really take things to the next level. So as part of me setting up MemberStack, I introduced my premium plan where I charge $10 a month or $99 a year for freelancers to basically upgrade to an account that would give them better spots on the service pages or the homepage. So the idea was basically that if you pay me, I'll just put you into more spots where you're likely to be discovered, and that should then lead to you getting more clients overall. And as soon as I launched the plan, it worked quite well. I had a few people upgrade to the paid accounts. Most of the freelancers who upgrade to the paid accounts at the time were people who had already been quite successful on the site, and that was just their way of being able to thank me and repay me for work that I had sent them. But then I introduced something that made a huge impact to the overall speed at which my flywheel develops of me being able to get more freelancers upgrading, which led to more clients. And that was me introducing the blue verified checkmark. Okay, so the idea behind the blue verified checkmark was to make it easier for clients to see which freelancers we knew, reviewed, and trusted. And so the way that it would work is if a freelancer upgrades to a paid account, we would go over some of their case studies, we'd review their portfolios, and then if all checked out, give them that blue verified checkmark. Now, at the time, I didn't think much of it. The main reason why I wanted to introduce it was just because we started getting a lot more freelancers, and that made the overall process of finding a really good freelancer a lot more difficult, which made that blue verified checkmark actually quite valuable to the clients, but also to the freelancer because it was really good social proof. So yeah, as soon as we introduced that blue verified checkmark, I started to see a huge spike in people upgrading to paid accounts, and because at the time I was still making quite a decent amount of money from my own freelance projects, but also from the commission payments that I was getting, I decided to reinvest all of the money that I was making on the Unicorn Factory right back into paid ads. And I was pretty much immediately able to go to a monthly ad budget of between $1,000 to $2,000 a month. And that just led to even bigger growth. So I started seeing a lot more clients reaching out to freelancers, a lot more clients posting to our job board, and that led to more freelancers signing up, and that then led to more freelancers upgrading to paid accounts. So to come back to the initial question, what was the product improvement that I made that had the overall biggest impact on the Unicorn Factory in the earliest days? I must have to say that it is probably that blue verified checkmark that made the biggest difference in terms of me getting more freelancers and more clients, which led to overall more transactions in terms of leads on the platform overall, which is why I decided to pick that as my main feature. Now, before you all go out there and go and set up your own verified check marks, I do also want to say that I was quite lucky with the results that I got from that feature. Now, this was definitely not something that I had thought out as a big game plan in order to increase monthly recurring revenue. It was simply a solution to a problem that started developing on the website as it started to scale. And so understanding where certain solutions come from is super important to understanding how you should prioritize what you build, because if you just copy and paste what I do, it might not have the same impact as it does with me because you're not solving the same problem as I am. Okay, so this video has gone on a lot longer than I thought. I had initially planned on this only being a quick little 5-minute video, but I then also kind of figured that just saying blue verified checkmark would probably lack a little bit of context, which is why this video has dragged out. But I will try and make these Q&A videos quite a bit shorter in the future. Now, just a quick little reminder, if you have any questions about Unicorn Factory, marketplaces, no code, leave them in the comments down below so I can address them in a future video. Other than that, thank you so much for sticking around for the entire video, and I'll see you back here for the next one.